Hello, everyone. Welcome in. So excited and happy to be back on YouTube after a long time. Woohoo! I'm feeling super grateful for getting to reconnect with all of you guys. So if you can hear me and see me okay, please let me know. And also let me know who's here and where you're from. The only downside to YouTube is woohoo! I'm feeling super grateful for getting to reconnect with all of you guys. So if you can hear me and see me okay, please let me know. And also let me know who's here and where you're from. The only downside to YouTube is woohoo! I'm feeling super grateful for getting to reconnect with all of you guys. So if you can hear me and see me okay, please let me know. And also, I don't know if it's coming through clear for you guys. If it is, please tell me because I'm hearing an echo on my side. So hopefully it's coming across. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. And I'm going to get started on this conversation. This topic is so juicy and there is so much important things to discuss and cognize about what karmic relationships really are. Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for letting me know. Awesome. So let's start talking about it. And please, as you are listening and we're having this, it's absolutely an open conversation and dialogue. Ask questions, share your experiences. I would love to hear your feedback. Okay, thanks, Lily. I'm glad it's sounding okay. I'm just turning the volume down so that I don't hear myself talking as I'm sharing with you guys. So wow, so much to catch up on in life. You guys might be curious and wondering what's even going on with me because it's been a long time and the thumbnail of this video is me with somebody that is my current partner, and I have been blessed with a extremely divine, beautiful, loving relationships since November time. This connection has come into my life, and I will definitely share more about that and more context on that later on. I do want to stay focused on this topic though, and as we're sharing about karmic connections versus soul connections, how to really know what type of connection we're really having with someone, what type of bond we're experiencing. I will definitely integrate my own lessons and experiences, so I will share personal stuff, but I'm going to weave it into this topic because I want to make it more applicable for everybody here, right? Now that we're talking about karmic relationships, I want to ask what you guys think a karmic relationship is. Please share in the chat what you guys have either experienced or what you understand karmic connections to be. I have had many powerful realizations about relationships over the past really 5 years, but really my entire life, because relationships are my greatest teacher. It is all over every one of my charts, whether it's human design or Vedic astrology or Western astrology or objective personality. Across all the systems, you can see it in writing that I am a really relationship-centered person. And I have to say that ever since I was a kid, it has been a huge area of reflection, focus, and spiritual growth in my life. I put a lot of attention into this zone, not just romantic connections, but all different kinds of relationships in my life and my relationship to myself. But especially since my marriage, I have done a lot of really deep work and transformation when it comes to my part in my relationships, right? And owning my blind spots, my patterns, growing in ways that I could harmonize my ideal relationships, right? My ideal partners. And I'm sure each one of you guys here is looking to do the same thing, right? You're wanting to have relationships in your life, whether romantic or platonic, right, that are supportive and nourishing and feel equal and uplifting, right, to your soul, to your mind, to your heart, and to your body, to all aspects of you. Now, what I've seen a lot of times in the spiritual community, especially, I see people misunderstanding karmic relationships for soulmates or for twin flames or for really like a positive connection, you can say. And I want to explain what I mean by this. When our nervous system, when our body is responding to somebody in really extreme excitement, right? You meet somebody, you're feeling lit up by them, you're feeling passionate, you're feeling what I would call magnetized or very, very drawn to somebody. A lot of times, this feeling specifically is actually coming from a dysregulation in your nervous system. What we may think as chemistry or passion is a lot of times a karmic pattern playing out with somebody. Now, I do want to preface by saying this is not a good or a bad thing. It is a part of life. It is a part of relationships and experience and spiritual growth. We are going to constantly have these kind of connections and beings that come into our life for our learning and expansion, right? It's not a negative thing. What I do want to bring to light is that we should have the right understanding and awareness, because when we do, we will suffer a lot less. The thing with karmic relationships, and what I mean by karmic connections, is a connection that you either feel extremely sexually, emotionally magnetized by or attracted to. You have an up and down kind of connection, polarity that you're experiencing with that being, or you deeply feel you have a past life connection with them. All of these things can kind of usually indicate there is karma to be played out with that person. Now, again, this is an entirely negative thing, and it's not to vilify that connection, and it's not to vilify that person or you. What's important to know, and from my own experience, when we understand that there is a expansion, a learning, a completion of a pattern or cycle, opportunity window to be had with that person or that relationship, we can use it to its highest capacity. We can get the most out of it with conscious awareness, and we can let it go when it needs to go. But when we misunderstand that type of longing, magnetism, pull to somebody as they're my forever person, or they're my twin flame, or they're my life partner, we use these kind of terminologies, we create certain stories that can really, really prolong our suffering. Because the thing is, with karmic relationships, they aren't usually meant to be very long term. Now, this is again a generalization, there is some nuance here. But a lot of times they're here to exhaust a certain karma, right? Exhaust a certain lesson. Can you guys still hear me okay? Can you let me know in the chat? I just want to make sure we're still good on the audio. But yes, so we can misunderstand these connections, and we can forget that actually there's something deeper playing out here. We have to be able to zoom out, right? Zoom out of our emotional connection or attachment. Zoom out and see what's really happening, right? What's really, really happening. Now, okay, at this point, some people might be feeling a little triggered, and I totally understand if you are. Take this in just from an objective perspective, right? A neutral perspective as much as possible, and just sit with it, chew on it. I don't want you to come to conclusions or any judgments on your connections or on yourself, but just chew on it, okay? This is stuff to contemplate and think about. And again, if you have any questions on what I'm saying, please let me know in the chat. I would love to open this discussion up with all of you guys. Okay, thank you. So what's happening in a karmic relationship is that the reason we feel often so drawn or magnetized to a person is not because they're meant to be a life partner. What usually can be the case is that they're here because they're very familiar, right? The familiarity we feel is the karma, right? It is the pattern. We feel familiarity because our body, our nervous system, our soul, our mind, whatever you want to call it, it really, I think it works on all levels, truly, is remembering, recalling this same feeling that it's had before. Therefore, this person feels comfortable, familiar, known, that you've known them forever, like all of these things, right? And this is the slippery slope, because a lot of times then the story we can create, the narrative we can create becomes, oh my gosh, they're meant to be, you know, my life partner. They're my twin flame. We're going to be together forever. We're going to create all of these things together, X, Y, and Z. And maybe in some cases, this can be true. If you guys both, if both people are able to bring a ton of conscious awareness to that pattern playing out and complete it on both sides. The thing is, this tends to be more rare. And what usually happens is one person may bring awareness to it and the other doesn't, or some level of unconsciousness is playing out, or the dynamic just becomes too unstable and too toxic and too up and down for any healing or safe space to be continued, right? To be created continuously with that person. Is that making sense, guys? I'm hoping this is coming across clearly, and I just really wanted to share this because there's so many things that have been downloading in me related to this topic. Now I want to talk about the contrast, right? What does it feel like when a relationship is not karmic? When a connection is not karmic for us? What I've noticed is that, in a sense, the person can actually feel more new to you. Now, I don't mean there isn't a connection, of course, right? Or an attraction, but it's different. It's hard to describe in words, but it's different. It's like there isn't this extreme magnetism. There isn't this toxic chemistry. There is just a love. There is a deep, deep, deep love, but there's a freshness. The energy with these kind of people feels so new. Like we get to create a new experience together. We get to create a new world together. We get to create a new life or dynamic together. And that energy is really different. It's like, compare it to a house that has weathered a ton of storms and it's been around for hundreds of years, and there are weak points in that house, right? And it can be falling apart in certain areas. That's like a karmic connection. Yes, you can put in the work and you can repair some of that, but some of the infrastructure will always be tricky to work with, right? Whereas a kind of a new soul connection, I don't even care what you call it, and I don't really care to call it anything in particular, but somebody who you may have longer term in your life that is there to actually bring you to the next level, not to complete past things, but to take you into new levels of experience and understanding, right? The person like that, it feels like a house that you are building together, right? The house hasn't even existed previously. You get to build it, you get to construct it together. You get to decide every part that goes into that house from your current level of awareness and understanding. Wow, like, doesn't that feel so different energetically to think about, right? Like this old weathered house that we have already lived in and created and recreated over and over again versus building an entirely new foundation, a new home. That's that energetic descriptor difference, I would say, right? Is like, that's the energy. Have you guys experienced what I'm talking about? Is this resonating, or is it connecting any dots for you? Now, whether or not you have had experiences in either one or both of these type of relationships, hopefully it's still clicking and making sense, right? And I feel like this is so important because nowadays we're in such a toxic relationship culture. It's like there's so much wrong understanding about what people are in our lives for, what our relationship should be and look like, and all of these things, right? And I think it's so important to really deeply meditate on these things in our own lives so that we can create a life, create relationships, create partnerships out of consciousness, right? And not out of patterns and not out of karma that we don't have to keep living out when we do the work. And that's a huge asterisk, right? Like, we have to do the work. We do have to do the work. Yeah, you know, it's so important. It's such an important part of this equation. Okay, let me check back on the chat here. Yes. Okay, cool. I'm glad you guys can hear me. Yes, I do. I do have a new partner. That is who is in the picture. It's a really, really beautiful story, actually, and I'm very excited to share the whole tale with you guys in a future video. But I will do that when the time is right. I don't want to do that preemptively, but yes, I definitely feel so much of the reflections I've had since he's come into my life. I feel like I finally had this huge breakthrough. Huge breakthrough related to not going for the karmic, you know, and going for the new connection, the new life, the energy, the breakthrough into the expansion, into the other side that's what I want, right? That's what my soul wants, and that's what my being wants. And it feels so different, guys. It feels so different to your nervous system. It feels so different to your soul and to your being. And I've just been, I've been chewing on this a lot, reflecting on this a lot. So I wanted to share and wanted to chat about it with you guys. Love you too. Why? How are you such a relationship person? It is a bad thing not to be. Of course not. We're all designed in unique, very, very unique ways. I'm a firm believer in finding absolute acceptance and harmony with our nature. And each of us, that is utterly unique. That is utterly unique expression. Whether or not you're super drawn to relationships or not, that doesn't mean anything about you. But I think it's important to be honest with ourselves. Another thing, and I even saw some of this happening in the chat, and I say this from total, love and completion, is that there is a really toxic narrative in the spiritual world as well about relationships being distractors from enlightenment or a lower path than becoming a sannyasi or a monk or all of these things. I absolutely do not believe this. I do, however, believe it takes more work, absolutely, and more consciousness to have a relationship that is going to continue to be expansive, to be healthy, and to support you as you continually expand, right? This is a unique thing to find, but it is very possible, and it takes creative power. It takes work. You have to put in the work. It doesn't just happen. There is no such thing as a perfect relationship. There is no such thing as a effortless relationship. However, when you have a true soulmate in your life, and this can be somebody that is platonic, might I add. I have many soulmates that are my best friends, like truly my best friends. They are not romantic in nature. Soulmates are beings you are choosing to create new with, you're expanding with, right? They're often also people who are in it for the long haul. You know what I mean? Like, this person has the capability and this soul has the resonance with you to continue forward as you continually change and expand. And they're also walking that path with you. You know what I mean? Choosing that with somebody and having someone who is choosing that consciously with you is the secret sauce, right? For a non-karmic relationship. And the other thing is, we want to look for a connection that is peaceful, guys. And I know you probably have heard this from many different people and relationship coaches and such, but it couldn't be more important. Please, 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 please find somebody who brings you peace, not who you're convincing yourself brings you peace, who completely relaxes you, right? Who relaxes your nervous system, who you feel grounded and calm around, who you feel completely and utterly yourself with, and extremely secure and clear that you've chosen each other and it's completely equal, it's mutual, right? You are an equal partnership, right? It is harmonious. It is harmonious. And this, again, doesn't mean you're not going to have hiccups or have triggers, not have triggers come up. You will always have triggers come up. But there's a very big difference between the trigger level of a karmic relationship and the trigger level of a soul connection, right? A long-term soul connection. Let me get to the chat again. All right. I will try to come live more often for sure. When you feel that the relationship has exhausted itself and the karma has done its job, how do you break off the relationship? Knowing the other person doesn't want it to end. Ooh, that is such a deep question, and so true. It's a challenging thing. I have been there myself. Actually, what that brings to mind is the relationship that I had when I was first awakening. I want to share this story for a second because I think it really connects to what you're asking, Heidi. So when I first had my awakening at 18 and 19 years old, I was in the middle of a long-term relationship. We were already a year, 2 years into dating each other. And I completely changed. I mean, in every possible way, right? And pretty quickly, in the span of a month or two, I was an utterly new person. Like in like very large ways, right? Because you guys know that initial part of your awakening is like your whole life changes, right? How you talk, how you act, what you like, what you're engaging with, that can change in more extreme ways in the initial stages, right? And he didn't, go on his own journey. It didn't happen for him like that. And that's not a good or a bad thing, right? He just didn't reach that point in himself. And I continued rapidly changing. And he was kind of still wanting and loving that first version of me that he knew, right? And it was hard because we actually had a lot of compatibility, and we had a very healthy and beautiful relationship. But I knew for about a year that I had to end things for his own good. I had to end things because I did not feel seen or met in that connection like I wanted. And out of love and honor for myself, and out of the deepest love and honor for him, finally, I came to completion with it. And I took a lot of time to meditate and complete in my own self before I had the conversation. And then, actually, when I had the conversation, the most beautiful and, in a way, surprising thing for me at the time happened, where it was like met in such a complete way, in such a loving, wow, guys, by the way, it's 222 and we just reached 22 on the live the same moment. That's crazy. As we're talking about relationships, which is like number 2 in numerology, right? Connections. So it was met in such a beautiful way, better than I anticipated, right? Without resistance, because I was radiating such an unconditional love for him and myself when I presented it. So what I would say to you is do as much reflection as you can with yourself, right? When you come to completion, when you come to peace with whatever needs to be done for the true love to continue in that relationship, somebody will feel that from you. And I've seen this actually in multiple breakups I've had over the years with multiple people, men, women, long-term, short-term. I have gone through many closings of relationships with a lot of completion for the most part. And what I've seen, what I've learned is that when you genuinely are holding the space of honoring and respecting the love, not the attachment, you will always do what's right for each other. You know what I mean? Like, when you honor and respect the love you share with someone, you're starting to see your dynamic or your relationship isn't facilitating completion between you anymore, isn't facilitating love between you anymore, and you're constantly actually not able to love each other in the way that you want to, that means boundaries are being violated, right? That means the setup of the relationship is not in harmony anymore. It's so important to remind ourselves that love is not bound by titles. Love is not bound by labels or a certain dynamic. Love is outside and beyond all of that, right? So, for what reason do we create, that which is not love, that which is causing pain or suffering to the person we claim to love the most and to ourselves, right? Which is also really important to admit. And when we're causing harm because of an attachment, not because of love. And when we remember that, we can actually act from a space of love and discuss and share openly with that person what is in the highest for the love, right? What do we need to do to restore the love? There is nothing more important than that. There is nothing more important than that. Restoring the completion and restoring the love by whatever means necessary. If that means I can't be your wife anymore, so be it. Our love is bigger than my title. If that means I cannot be seeing you every week anymore, so be it. Our love is bigger than that. I love you more than that attachment, right? I love you more than that attachment. That concept is truly stepping into divine love and to true unconditional love, right? For ourselves and for the other that is in that dynamic with us. It's so, so, so important. And huge lesson I've practiced a lot over these last years, you know? Even with my marriage ending, as many of you guys know, you started following me when I was still married. I was living in India. My life was very, very, very different, right? And I'm very open about all of that because I am constantly evolving and changing. And let me just shift over here really quick. It's too bright. There we go. I'm constantly evolving and changing, and I'm allowed to. I don't want to be bound by the internet or by the collective idea of what I should or shouldn't be or should or shouldn't do. I don't care about that anymore, guys. That was my own hugest spiritual expansion. You know what I mean? That was the biggest breakthrough for me as an ex people pleaser, as an ex person who lived for others all the fucking time and never could prioritize what I actually wanted or needed. So therefore I couldn't be free to actually be who I was, to love who I wanted, to love how I wanted, and to actually love authentically, right? So I won't let myself be bound by these things any longer, and I won't let myself be bound by the pressures of someone else's desires or expectations, or even my own attachment to a certain outcome that is harming love in the process. You know what I mean? So, whew, I feel like so much is just downloading and channeling right now, and I hope it's resonating. Let me get back to the chat here, y'all. Exactly. The highest frequency is always authenticity and truth, right? Okay. How do you define being in peace with a partner? Like I mentioned, it's that stability, security, calmness. The best way I could really describe it in a physical, like tangible way, your nervous system feels calm with them. Your nervous system feels at peace with them. It's not being triggered all the time. It's not like, oh, I'm feeling anxious all the time and I don't know why. Like, what's going on here? There's a reason. There's a reason. Our bodies are so intelligent. Another takeaway I have learned over my past few years of dating, before I met my current partner, I had a lot of dating experience. It was a beautiful 2 years of my life where I was single for a long period of time for the first time in my life. I was single. I was getting to explore my sexuality, and I was dating lots of different types of people, men, women, long-term, short-term, from many different places and countries. And one of the things I realized is that, you know, we truly have always we have the answer, always we have the intelligence. And what I saw time and time again is that when my system was responding even slightly, if I was getting a feeling of some contraction or anxiety with a person, and there wasn't even a logical reason at the time. Oh, hi Kashi, do you want to go out? Sorry guys. And there wasn't even a logical reason at the time why I was feeling that anxiety. Sometimes I would doubt it for a second and I would say, oh, Priscilla, you just got to work on yourself. Like, no, because at this point of my self-work and development, my body does not lie to me. I have never been wrong. In at least the last few years, anytime I have had anxiety, because it rarely comes up for me, by the way, I'm saying this, because it rarely comes up for me, when it does, it is telling me something and it is intelligent. I had a scenario But right before I met my current partner, I went through one of the biggest karmic completion cycles with a woman that I was dating. And my body, the biggest thing I remembered, and it solidified, kind of like the final nail in the coffin for me, was that I knew. And I listened for the first time. I listened to that feeling without any logic, without any intellectualization. I acted on that feeling and I ended that relationship. And 1 week later, I found out some crazy stuff related to infidelity and betrayal and all this stuff that I felt. I knew, but I didn't know it, right? I didn't know why, but my body felt it. And I listened and I honored that. And I'm so glad I gave myself that gift. And it really, I think, completed that karmic pattern for me of not listening to that voice, right? Not listening to that intuition and that inner intelligence. So yeah, that was one of my biggest lessons. Let me get back here. I love this open dialogue, guys. It feels so good to just speak freely here. Yes, reaching completion is always the center of any relationship, first and foremost with ourselves, right? We have to continuously be in that space so that we can show up that way for others. Thank you for being here. Oh, my love. That hurts my heart. You are perfect as you are. It does not matter who you love. Who you love. Do you think God is limited to gender? Do you think that any divine entity would judge love, judge connection? If we really dig in and ask ourselves that, we can see that the only reason we have ever doubted that is because of immense brainwashing and propaganda by society, by religion, by culture, by family. Naturally, I want to say, naturally, our love is unbound. Our love is unbound, guys. I've actually seen in my own spiritual journey, I really feel strongly that, for at least speaking for myself, I have always known I wasn't straight. I'm just attracted to be like a person. I'm attracted to people and I love people. And it's been that way for as long as I can remember myself. But the more that I have come into myself, who I am, my confidence, knowing who I am, maturing in myself and my love and all these things, right? I have felt more and more free to express that, right? And to talk about that. And I just want to say that you are so deserving of love, as every human being is. And it doesn't matter who that love is with. It does not matter who that love is with. It's as simple as that. These are silly and immature human conditionings, right? Like who deserves to define or limit love like that? I won't stand for it. Seriously, I will not stand for it. Not anymore. No. Great to see you. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Of course, actually, Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma, is one of the most progressive spiritual paths on earth. It has always included non-straight relationships. There are 11 different genders mentioned in the Vedas. There are even rituals and marriages for same-sex couples. And in many of the different scriptures, there are same-sex relationships, exploration of sexuality in many different forms. So all of that, again, is colonialism, is cultural conditioning that is completely non-related to actually the truth of Dharma. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Is there supposed to be pain, turbulence, restriction with soulmates? We love each other, but they're married with kids and 15-year age difference between us. We're also colleagues. It's been wild. That just may mean, Diego, that you're also supposed to love that person in a specific set of circumstances. Remember, the most important thing to know, that love isn't struggle. Love is not pain and love is not resistance. That doesn't mean we won't go through things in our journey to deeper love. But what that means is, what it sounds like to me, just from the surface level, what it sounds like to me is that that is absolutely not an open door for you right now. And your journey is going to be loving that being anyway. It doesn't matter if you're in an active relationship with them, you can still love. Again, love does not have a restriction on how it shows up or what it's called or what it looks like. If you're loving selflessly, you have to let that being bring completion in their own life. You have to let that being be in freedom, be in true freedom to find you or choose you of their own will, that does not do damage or harm to their current commitments, right? That does not harm others in the process. Okay, let's see. Do you get married to your destined marriage partner? I'm not getting married for the last 8 years. I'm not sure what you mean. Can you clarify, Ashish? When we learn to see God in everyone, our spiritual, yes, 100%. It always comes back to oneness, right? I really feel it always comes back to oneness. Jessica, okay, my mind tells me that relationships are difficult and filled with conflict, therefore I avoid them. And what we resist persists, my love, right? So that is where your work lies. Your deepest spiritual expansion will lie in that shadow. You have to face it at one point or another. All it is you're pressing the pause button, but you can never actually stop it. You're just delaying it. You're just delaying it, right? And I would advise you, I would recommend going into that. What gives you that resistance, and doing the healing work and the shadow work inside of yourself, which is really all that's required to change the outer reflections and the outer outcomes. Nice. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, Pittsburgh. 2 Pittsburgh peeps. Yes. And the truth is, right, if we are ever looking for happiness, completion in somebody else, we will never find it and we will always suffer. We have to give ourselves that first. And then our relationships become like a cherry on top. After many, many, many years, like I said, years of being single, getting to know deeply who I am and what I want, raising my standards to the highest level possible, and most importantly, building my life completely by myself, like for myself, with myself, living my dharma in all the other ways, right? Like building out my mission and, teaching Dharma Healer Mastery, getting to live my service every day. My life is so fulfilled. And I've worked at it. My life is so fulfilled that a partner coming in was not needed. Truly, I'm telling you, I met my partner and I have the relationship with him that I do right now because I did not need him. I do not need him. His entering my life had to be like a cherry on top. You know what I mean? It had to be a cherry on top of the already existing yummy, delicious sundae of my life. And if that cherry were to go, I would still have a delicious sundae. I don't rely on that cherry and I didn't expect that cherry. But what a gift it is now that I have that. It just makes everything a little sweeter, right? And I just feel like brought to tears. I literally cried on the way back from the grocery store today, just from pure gratitude, feeling just overwhelmingly blessed by this love. That's what's worth waiting for. Don't settle for anything less. You can find it. You do deserve it. It's not asking for too much. And if that isn't the level of love entering your life, don't let it enter your life. It's worthwhile to just be with yourself. You know what I mean? To keep giving that love to yourself and not letting somebody detract you from your mission and your dharma. It is not worth it. The wrong relationship can detract us so quickly, more than anything else in our life. The wrong energy, even the subtle wrong energy, the wrong connection, will suck us into that karmic vortex until we've lived it out again, until we've completed it again. It'll take us totally off course. And yes, we will get back. So it's not the end of the world, right? But it will detract us, right? And it's like, why? Why do we do that again and again and again? That's the karmic cycle. That's the pattern, right? Okay, back to the chat. Yes, Jessica, I work a lot on this intimately, intricately with my students. I would love to talk to you more about different resources and learning opportunities. So message me on Instagram if you can, and we can chat about it. Okay, my marriage is not happening. Try to follow things. Will I get married only when karmic relationship happens? That's your choice, Ashish. It's your choice. It's always your choice. It's always free will and destiny at the same time. I truly believe it's both. It's like it's our destiny, but because it's our free will, like because we are deciding for it, there's always like all these timelines available to us. That's how I see it. There are all these possible timelines, and depending on what we choose, we create that destiny. You know what I mean? Okay, a yogi is always oh wait, I'm not dating anyone. Dating nowadays involves having sex before marriage. My beliefs are limiting myself. First of all, if you don't want to have sex with somebody while dating, that is also entirely your choice. There's nothing wrong with that. But do it from a space of empowerment, right? And it sounds like you're already aware that it may be coming from a different space. It may be coming from a guilt, a shame, a programming. This is so common, and I work with a lot of people on this deeply because it goes deep, especially when we've been raised in the church. So I resonate and I understand, and I had to do years of work on that to free myself, you know, and my energy. Yes, Drew, for sure. Benjamin, I don't think there's really one place to connect with somebody. Plus, you could meet somebody in a way you never expect. For example, I met my current partner while I was on vacation in Mexico. At the time of my life, I never planned to meet someone and I wasn't looking for it, which is so often when it happens, right? When we're least expecting it, when we're not looking for it. And it was just so many serendipitous things had to happen for us to have crossed paths, which I will tell that whole story in another video. And I feel just so blessed that we did. And I know it was because of all the work and the breakthroughs I did before we met to have each other come into our fields, you know, like to have him come into my field, to have me come into his field. He had to do a lot of work and I had to do a lot of work, but it was so worth it, you know? Okay, let's see what else we got here. When will you visit India again? I'm actually coming in a few months to visit my brother and his wife. I'm super excited. Yeah, Francisco, it can be, of course, like when we're survivors of trauma and abuse, we have to do a lot of healing work, right? It sucks, but yet it's so worth it, right? And that was me, just so you guys know, right? This didn't come easy to me. I did not have a blank slate. I did not have like a healthy childhood. I did not have a loving relationship shown to me in my parents at all. So there was so much I had to deprogram and unlearn and then relearn. And there was many moments where I got very emotional and very frustrated across the years where I was like, this is so unfair. You know, some people, they don't have to do any of this and they just know it because they saw it as kids, right? And they had the right examples. It's crazy how much damage is done to us as children, right? When we don't see secure love, when we don't see unconditional love, when we don't receive it, right? But it doesn't serve us to be the victim, right? It doesn't serve us to stay in that story. What serves us is, what do I need to do? What can I do to create the life that I want, to create the love that I want, to be the love that I want? And I'll do whatever it takes to get there. That was how I came at it, you know what I mean? And it does take a lot of work, but it's very possible. It's very possible. Okay. The whole "it finds you when you aren't looking" thing never made sense to me because I've never been looking and it's never found me. But also it's a timing thing, you know, it's so many reasons, Jessica, right? Like these are all tropes and they can't be taken out of context. There's a lot of nuance, of course. Like I said, it didn't just happen because I wasn't looking for it, right? I also did a lot of work. I also called that in. And it also was an extremely divine blessing in my life, which again, I will tell all the details of how that happened. But truly, like the goddess orchestrated all of it for me. So, but it sounds like, Jessica, from everything you've been sharing, you've been like resisting that in your own life. You've been kind of communicating to the universe, I don't want a relationship because they cause conflict and they cause pain. And so if that's your inner belief, they're not going to come to you, right? Because you're putting out that energy. Your energy is very much felt, right? Okay, let me get back here. The celibacy has been the most powerful and transformative practice in my life. It's revealed the shadow, how to begin the healing process. I would definitely start talking to you about Tantra, real Tantra, and the healing that you can find there, especially in relationships, guys. There's so much more that I want to share, but let me end here by saying, number one, thank you all for being here. This was such a beautiful dialogue, and thank you for sharing and being vulnerable with me and listening. Number two, my program and coaching and mentorship is still open. It's called Dharmic Healer Mastery. You can check it out in the link below at my site, Ancient Soul Gardens, or message me on Instagram. I would love to work with you guys in a more personal way to help you have breakthroughs in your relationships. Most importantly, your relationship to yourself and the divine, and then as a result, all the other humans and connections around you. So please do reach out. I would love, love, love to help support you in your dharmic expansion, your relationship expansion, etc. The other thing, last thing I want to note, is that I'm still doing a fundraiser for a very, very important cause. It is an animal sanctuary that houses 1,700 rescued animals, dogs, cats, horses, chickens, farm animals that have crazy expenses just to care for these animals each month. If you can, please donate anything you can donate to this cause. It would truly be the greatest gift and to the animals, to me, to the universe, and such a beautiful cause of ahimsa. So for all my dharmic beings out there, please donate what you can. And as a part of this dharmic chakra, you can win an entirely free trip to Costa Rica. So I'm about to share, guys, a vlog I'm about to post by the end of the day. Stay tuned. I'm posting a new vlog all about my last trip to Costa Rica and my time at this animal sanctuary. And you can literally win this exact trip. 5 nights, all inclusive with food, with all these amazing activities like zip lining and rappelling, visiting the animal sanctuary, ATVing, just for donating. This cause is so generous. These people are so generous. They are the most dharmic, kindest, loving, most loving people. So all they're asking is that you donate to the animals, and if you donate anything, you can win, as part of the raffle, you can win a trip, this trip that I'm about to show you guys in my vlog. So please do donate. It would mean the world to me. And stay connected. If you have any questions, if you want to work more deeply one-on-one on your relationships, on these karmic connections in your life, in breakthroughs in your dharma, please DM me on Instagram at Kundalini Yogini Prasida. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here. It's been great to reconnect with you, YouTube, and I will see you guys on my vlog.